Hi everyone, today I thought we'd do something a little bit different. I filmed my best affordable foundation video the other day. If you haven't seen that, I will link it up here for you so you can watch it a little bit later on. But whilst I was researching that video, I was forced to retry a lot of foundations that I hadn't tried for a really long time, which made me think I really need to revisit my entire drawer system, my entire collection, and see what makeup I've actually got in there, and maybe retry out some old favourites and see why I stopped using those in the first place. Was it because better things came along, or was it just because they got pushed to the back of the drawer? I'm gonna find out in this video. I've got lots of my old favourites from way back when to try out again. So let's get straight on with it. If you're new here, hi, my name's Gemma. I upload 2 to 3 videos here on YouTube every single week. I'm also on Instagram if you fancy checking me out over there. There will be a giveaway shortly over on Instagram. I'm not going to do it here on YouTube, so make sure you're following me across over there as well. I'd really appreciate it if after this video, if you found it helpful or entertaining in some way, come and join the Pampered Wolf Pack by clicking on that subscribe button and also the notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads. Let's start with Eyeshadow Base. This is the P. Louise base. It's in the shade Rumour, which is 01. I was using this for an incredibly long time. I still use it now. I mean, it's very well loved. This is still the first one that I bought. I don't think I repurchased this. Maybe I did, actually. Maybe this is the second one. I still love this. But the reason I stopped using it on my channel is because I knew that a lot of you couldn't get your hands on it, so I started using products that I knew you would be able to buy because you were getting a little frustrated that you couldn't get your hands on some of the items that I was using regularly on my channel. So I still adore this, and off camera it's still one of those products that I use all the time. Look how well this cancels out all of my discoloration, redness, veins, and it is one of the best eyeshadow primers I've used for actually really exaggerating the pigmentation of your eyeshadows. So I'm afraid we are going to have the same situation all over again, where there's going to be quite a lot of frustrated people that they cannot get their hands on this, but yeah, I'm really sorry about that. There is a P. Louise website. I'm not quite sure if she sells on any other sites, but I will find out for you and I will link it in the description box. So the palette I'm going to be using today is from Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is the Modern Renaissance palette. As you can see, it is well loved. This is the palette that I used all the time on my channel right at the very beginning. It was probably the first purchase that I made that was of more of a mid-range to high-end purchase. Until this purchase, it was constantly just affordable drugstore because, you know, we're not all made of money, and I bought all my own products when I first started, which I still do now pretty much, but I wasn't getting any ad revenue whatsoever. So any purchase that I made had to be a clever purchase, and I've definitely got my use out of this one. So I'm going to dip into Warm Taupe just to give myself a little bit of a transition shade. I'm using my Refa 15 brush, and I'm just going to take that right from the corner all the way through the crease. Do you know what? This palette I perhaps should not be using. It's really old. I'm going to end this video with a nice bout of an eye infection. Lucky me. But it's still really good quality. I did spritz this with some antibacterial spray last night, but whether that will have worked or not, I have no idea. That's really easy to blend, it's really pigmented, it's really smooth, nothing wrong with that at all. So I'm just going to deepen up the outer crease using Red Ochre. It's a shade that I don't even know if I've ever used this shade. It doesn't look touched, so there's always a first time for everything. Why have I never used this shade before? This is stunning. I really like that. Then I'm going to take Primavera on my finger and just pop that from the centre of the lid into the inner corner. Always love this shade. And then I'm going to take Cypress Umber and just create a bit of liner. These shadows are so pigmented, it's actually quite frightening. Look how amazing that is. Just with one swipe of shadow. I'm gonna leave it there for now. This palette does not lose its charm. If you have this in your collection and it's sat at the back of the drawer, I urge you to get it back out and have a little play with it because it's completely beautiful and timeless. A classic. Moving on to foundation, I used to absolutely rave about this next foundation. This is the NYX Born to Glow and it's in the shade Light. I stopped using this. I'm not quite sure why. I think it was just because I got so many more foundations that just consumed me. Let's have a look, see if I still like it. So I did retry this foundation when I was doing the research for my best affordable foundation video. Gotta say, I still love it. I still really, really like it. It's smooth. It's the right amount of glowiness and luminosity without it looking shiny and sweaty. And it's got the right amount of staying power. It's just, there was another foundation that pipped it to the post. So it didn't end up featuring in that video. Still a great foundation though. There is a high quantity of alcohol within this formula, so if you are sensitive to foundations with high levels of alcohol in, then this is definitely one to give a miss. But it's so smooth, and the alcohol is definitely necessary in the formula to give it its long wearability and its dry down ability. This doesn't feel tacky on the skin at all. It's got good coverage, I would say a medium coverage to a full medium coverage. The only problem that I have with this foundation in the UK, probably different in the US, is the shade selection. The shade selection for me is slightly limited. Okay, so if you have followed me for a really long time, you will have heard me talk about these next couple of products a lot. A lot, because it was like a broken record. I loved these. So I'm really quite nervous to see if they hold up a couple, 3, 4 years down the line. These are from MAC and they are the MAC Prep and Prime. I've got one in the shade Bright Forecast and one in the shade Light Boost. So the shade Bright Forecast is a peachy shade. And you click up using the spinny thing and the product comes out of the top. The applicator little brush is really soft and this is quite illuminating underneath the eye. I use this as a colour corrector, but you can also use this to brighten the under eye as well. Look at that. Why did I stop using this? So I probably stopped using this product because the level of coverage was lower than those other products that were released after. It definitely does the job though. I mean, that's really good. The concealer that I'm going to use, I was going to pick up my MAC concealer, which I used all the time, but then I moved on to this one and I've not used it for such a long time. I just want to see if I still like it. This is the Benefit Cakeless Concealer and it's in the shade number 2. That's some coverage. And it's very fair. Wow. Okay, so I did like my fair concealers then. I liked a little bit more of a contrast between the shade of my foundation and the shade of my concealer. I like to think I have improved on my makeup application since I first started my channel. I think that goes without saying. The more you practice, the better you get. And yeah, this sort of contrast isn't really my thing anymore, but we're gonna roll with it. So I'm going to take my damp blending sponge and just start to blend that in. I've given that maybe a minute to just start to set underneath the eye for that extra coverage. Yeah, not liking this so much. Now what I have to keep reminding myself is that this might have looked beautiful on my skin a couple of years ago. My skin has altered as I've aged, so what was suitable for me a couple of years ago might not be suitable for me now. But yeah, no, I don't like that. It's very yellow and it's very thick and heavy. Let's see whether we can salvage something from this. It's very dry. It looks like I've put lots of powder on it already. That does not look good. May have to remove that and use something else, so just give me a second. Okay, so I've just used my current favourite concealer combo, the Lancome All Over Concealer and also the Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Concealer. The reason I like to mix these two together is one, to lighten the shade of the Lancome concealer because it was just slightly too deep for me, but also to add that hint more coverage. It is the perfect combination. It really is so smooth, so easy. I love it. I really, really love it. So it turns out the Cakeless Concealer did not stand the test of time for me. Let's see if the Laura Mercier powder does. So this was the one that I used all the time. It's the Secret Brightening Powder, and it has slight, very finely milled particles of glitter in here, and I'm spilling it everywhere. Let's not waste the product, Gemma. A lot of this comes out at once. The holes in the lid are really quite large, so you do get a lot. Okay, so this is slightly more drying on first application than my current favourite Pat McGrath under eye powder, but it still works and it still mattifies but brightens all at the same time. So I don't think this will be one of those products that I start to use again regularly, but it definitely has its purpose. It still works and it's still nice. So let's powder down my oilier areas to increase the longevity of this foundation. Do you remember this, everybody? I mean, how often did I bang on about this powder? It's still a great powder, but it's not as finely milled as some of the more luxury, more expensive alternatives. We'll see what I think about this. I'm just gonna tip a little bit out onto my palette and take a powder brush and really coat the powder brush in the powder. Make sure that it's really far into the bristles, knock off the excess and just start to powder the face. Wow, there is nothing wrong with that powder at all. So you would never in a million years say that this was an attractive looking product. This isn't enticing, it's not luxurious in any way, it's in a plastic tub, but it's not pretending to be something that it's not. You get a lot of product. There are 3 ounces of product in here for quite an affordable price to begin with. So it's gonna last you a long time and it works. So I'm just filling in my brows using my NYX Micro Brow Pencil, which is pretty much the same product that I've been using for at least the last 3 years. So I don't have an old favorite because this is my old favorite, which is also pretty much my current favorite as well. I haven't found anything that I prefer more than this. Okay, I'm gonna go back into the eyeshadow palette to Red Ochre and take the tiniest amount and just pop it on that outer edge. And I really do mean the tiniest amount. I'm not taking it all the way underneath the lash line. I just want to do that outer edge just to connect everything together. Then I'm going to blend in some Cypress Umber right on that outer V. And finally, I'm going to take a little bit of Vermeer and just place it in the inner corner just to highlight that area a little bit. This is still, without doubt, my favourite inner corner highlight out of all the palettes that I used to have and that I currently own. It's just the most amazing shade with great pigmentation, and it's illuminating without being overly sparkly. Let's add a lick of mascara. Now, if I was being completely true to myself, it would be the Charlotte Tilbury Legendary Lashes Volume 2, because that's the one that I used to rave about all the time. I'm not quite sure why I haven't repurchased that. It's still a great mascara, although I haven't worn it for about a year. So I'm going to use my e.l.f. Lash It Loud mascara because I love this one, and for health and safety, we're going to use one that's not too old. Okay, let's bronze this up a little bit using the Benefit Hoola Bronzer, which, along with the MAC Mineralized Finish in the shade Medium, was my ride or dies. So I'm going to pick this up on the same brush that I used for powder. Because this isn't dense, it is quite fluffy, I'm not going to get as much colour payoff. And the bronzer is slightly too deep for my skin tone, which I used to love that effect. But not so much anymore. I like it to be a little bit more subtle. So let's see how we get on with this. So this is definitely still a really pretty bronzer. I can see why it is a cult classic. It's lovely. It really is beautiful on the skin. It's very smooth. It's quite airbrushing on the skin. I do like the Hoola Glow Bronzer as well if you want a bit more luminosity to the skin. But yeah, this is really pretty. I may pick this up more regularly in the summer months. Perhaps not for the winter, but this has definitely enticed me to pick this up more regularly. Let's move on to blush. This is the part of this video that gives me butterflies. You all know that I love a good blush. Back in the day, my favourite used to be the L'Oreal Life's a Peach blush. I've not used this for such a long time. It's so pretty. Look how beautiful that is. Glorious. Still rather pigmented. Oh, I still love this. Why did I stop using it? Oh, it's so lovely. Look how pretty that is. Without being glowy or luminous, it's still girly and really quite airbrushing on the skin. It's more of a mattifying blush, but the shade is so pretty. Look how it's just completely lifted my face. No blush? Happy blush. Let's finish off this look with a lip product. I used to wear these all the time. I have these in several shades. This is from Maybelline and it's the Superstay Ink Crayon. This one is in the shade 10, Trust Your Gut. And it's a lovely neutral brownie pink. So this also comes with a sharpener on the end, which you can make the point a lot more precise if you want to. Okay, so I've sharpened the pencil. I've now got it all over myself because this room's rather hot, so this has softened slightly. Now you will have to prep your lips if you do have dry lips because this is long wearing. It's got a satin sheen to it. It's not overly matte, but it is semi-drying. I still love it, but it will be drying on your lips long time wear, so make sure you prep. Still love this colour. I love the taste and the smell of this as well. I'm not quite sure what it tastes like. It's slightly sweet, but it's not sickly sweet. And I can't cope with sickly sweet, but I like this. I really don't know what that tastes of, but I find it pleasant. So that's the finished look for today, and I've got to say I've absolutely loved filming this video. It's been eye-opening. It really has, and I'm not saying that I'm going to stop buying new products because that's my job on this channel. I review new products to try them out, to give you my opinion so you can decide whether you spend the money or whether you save your money. But it has inspired me to shop my stash more often off camera because I have some great products that have been forgotten in the back of my drawers. There was only one major fail within this video, and that might not have actually been the product. It might have just been how my skin has changed as it's matured. So yeah, I've really loved it. I hope you've enjoyed it as well. Do let me know what you've thought about it in the comments section, and hope to see you all in the next video. Bye everyone.